Welcome everyone to King James Bible University, but we actually over here temporarily because we're moving everything over to Precept Mastery, which you'll see over there, which we actually should be showing over there currently right now. But we want to welcome everyone here to Precept Mastery, also under the King James Bible University, which we being used over here to push this forward because we're going through coming to volume of the book. We're going to be pushing through the first book of Genesis. We're going to be looking at that. We're going to be precepting it, giving you the foundational precepts of Genesis to where you can look at it, read it, and clearly understand what Genesis is actually saying. That's the benefit of this. But what you also want to do, if you want to join and go along with us, what you can do, you can go over to the Moab, which they should be putting this up to where you can actually see what will be happening. You can go over there. You can actually purchase Lo, I Come in the volume of the book with Elder Johnson. You can go over there, purchase that, and then you can actually start following along with us, start putting it in, because what's going to happen once you finish this, you can actually make this out of an EPUB and actually have your own precept book, which is you currently can't even purchase one nowhere, anywhere. Because most books that you get right now, well, any book you're going to get, either they have nothing in it or they're going to be relational scriptures at the bottom, not giving you the understanding of the verse, but it's running you on a direction on what they want you to believe and what they want you to see on what they believe what the verse is saying. What we're doing, we're using precepts, the foundational precepts, to where it'll explain the verse to where you'll understand what the verse is actually saying. That's what we're doing. And we're going to go from Genesis, Revelations. And the most important part, what you really want to do is, if you want to get in on this, is really to jump in on Genesis. Because once you have the first 5, you're going to have the foundational structure to where you can build your house correctly anytime. So that's what we're doing. So if you get a chance, go over there, get that file, and you'll be able to go through there right all together with us. You're going to be putting in your own precepts in your own book. You want to make it look a certain way, you can make it look a certain way. You can do it the way you want to do it. You can do it the way you want to do it. I'm going to be showing you some things that we have kind of done with mine and how I'm going to have mine to look, which some people are going to do theirs, but people are going to do it other ways and making it look the way they want it to look. So let me get my mug out the way. We're going to go over here. We're going to start looking at what's going on. And let me move these things and get these things right. And we're going to start going through the book of Genesis, and we're going to look at that. So right now we're in the book of Genesis. We're looking at that. This is where we started off at, and we down a couple of verses, but I'm pulling it up at the top because I want you to see what's there. So the same, we started off and we have, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. We're using the precepts there, which gives you the understanding exactly what he was saying. Those are there, so you can understand what it's saying. But we went down, and as we was going down, what I decided to do for mine, I decided everything where God said and he actually spoke, I actually put mine in blue. So this is what I done. Some people might do it a little bit different, but I put mine in blue. So that's what I did. Some people are going to change the color. You can change it to whatever you want, because you got to remember, once you're finished, we're going to convert these over to EPUBs. EPUBs you convert over to free, and you can put it on your e-readers, your tablets, your computers. You can do whatever. You have your own digital book. That's the beautiful part about this. And if you haven't had a chance, on the King James Bible University homepage, you will see over there on the top right, you will see Precept Mastery. Please click over there and make sure you join over there, because over here we're going to be moving the entire thing over there for this here. So look at that, make sure. But we're going through and we're looking at where we got down to 4, 5, and it's going through, and he called a night, called a light day. We getting the understanding. We also broke down where you see where light is bolded, because we know light is knowledge of God, which we have in Precepts, giving you the understanding of that. We also know darkness means no knowledge. We also give you knowledge of that. So we have to understand. We went through a lot of things to make sure that you understand what is happening all the time. I want to also make sure one thing I got to do over here, because I was doing another part over here on another study I was doing with someone else. I forgot I got to get that out the way, because if not, it'll start messing up. So I have to get that out the way. I do apologize, but I actually forgot that was there. So what I want to do is make sure that that's all fine, well, and good. So we're good there. And then we're going to make sure everything else. So let me make sure this is completely out of the way. And we have that out of the way. So now we can finish out some of our other stuff. But as we was going through, we got through 9 and verse 8. We actually start up here, verse 7, verse 8, verse 9, same thing. He spoke again. We went through some of that there. Got down to verse 10. We had to explain a lot, so you'll see a lot there, where he called the water seas. And we had to explain this, so it gives you a little understanding on what we did there. Basically, it's saying waters and seas are mixed freely, and it's easily stirred up by winds, undercurrent. So we have to understand what that means. And it also means this: many waters easily cause disputes. So it's letting you know. So we letting you know that knowledge is there, because you'll see that's in there. So it's disputes, argument, and in directions. So they're charged and try to pull you in different places. So in the rise in many waves and oceans, generally with little effect other than mixing the water. Technically what happens. So also again, we did what God said. Let the earth bring forth herb. I know a lot of people have an issue with this, but precepts is precepts. Precepts don't change. Precepts can care less what your personal thought is. That's the beautiful part about it. You had a lot of people literally they dislike something. You can dislike it all day long. You can dislike, people like to put dislikes on the thumbs down and do everything and saying they dislike it. You can dislike it all day. The precept don't change. So either you're going to change the way the Most High telling you the way it is, or you can dislike it and you can go believe what you want to go believe. That's what happens. So many people have problem even with this, because it goes in here where we had to explain this, and it's talking about seed mixing and everything, in the herbs and torment of Israel. So those are the foundational to give you the understanding. But a lot of people had an issue with it. So since they had an issue with it, they decided they want to do it another way. So they want to dislike and all that. But you got to remember, the Bible don't care. His word don't care, because that's your thoughts. If that's your thought, he can care less about your thought. It's his way or the highway. He's not going to change anything. Then we went into the last part, which is this right where we left off. And it says, and the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and trees yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Yahweh saw it was good. We got the precepts right here matching everything that you need to see here, which we have Genesis 3:15, 7:3, 9:9. We are also using Daniel 9:1. Some people might not want to abbreviate. Some people might spell out the entire book that they're going to be using. Fine, you will more than well do that also. Got to remember, it's your book. And then we also using here within compilation. Why? Because we have to find out what that means. What means what? Sexual acts itself. So it tells you what these seeds are and how it goes about. We explain that. We're also using a lot of stuff from Idris. Why? Because Idris explains a lot of stuff. We're going to be pulling, scriptures and precepts from all over the book. Why? Because you have people who call themselves church fathers who is just Harrites, and they do what they do because they're not a church father of what the Bible is. But they had came up with this term called canon, and they decide we're going to take these books out because they're not to them spiritual. To them, they sitting there telling the Most High God, we don't think this should be in there, so they took them out. This is what's happening, and this is why so much confusion is going on today. Because what? Because the Apocrypha was not there. Why? They also didn't want it in Hebrews, Revelations, Jude, and a few other books. But these are these lying church fathers. However, you have people who hold to that, they can hold to that, but if you hold to it, guaranteed you're going to run into false doctrine. So we finished off right here, and we're going to start here today. We're going to go right here to verse 13 is where we're going to leave off. And what you guys know what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy that. The reason I do, just keep from actually having to type it. Technically what I'm doing. So we're going to start right here. We're going to have the first one, and what you guys know what we do. I'm going to read the verse, and then we got to read each verse that we're going to put in here to understand what was going on. And that's what we have to do. So it says, in the evening and the morning were the third day. Meaning what? What's the third day? So we need to still just know evening and morning was the third day. So the third day still meaning what? Evening and morning. So basically what we have here, we have Genesis. We have Genesis 1:5. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Why? Well, we got to go to 1:5 and actually see what it says. No matter what, we always got to go back and see what it said. It says, and Yahweh called the light day, and darkness called night, and evening and morning was the first day. So we know every time it go evening and morning was the beginning of another day. It's technically what it's telling you. The beginning of another day. That the day previous is done. We also, to help give you this understanding, we're going to put in Exodus 16 and verse 12. 16 and verse 12 is pretty much standard on what he's doing here right now. And it says there, Exodus 6:12, it says, I have heard the murmuring of the children of Israel speak unto them, saying, at even the next day ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Now he has some spiritual things that's happening there, but we're not looking at those because what we want to understand right now is technically what is going on. We want the foundational precepts of understanding. So if we put there evening and morning, and then we try to explain bread and everything else, it's going to confuse the reader, and we will be doing no different than what the other books do. We need the foundational precepts, the understanding the verse in itself. That's what we're doing. Now, we got to go down and we're going to look at verse 14. 14, we got to see what it says. I can put my precept right there, and we can go right there and we can look at this. It says, and Yahweh said, let there be lights in the firmament. So right here, I'm going to highlight this and put it to my color that I want to use. I'm going to put it blue. Let me put it over here. I'm on a Mac, so you see mine looks a lot different than yours. I'm on a Mac, because some people might be using a PC. So everything I said, and you remember, you want to save your things. So right here, I'm going to put everywhere where he said something, where he spoke, I'm making sure it's blue, because I want everywhere he spoke is blue. Do not wait and get way down to chapter 15, chapter 20, or chapter 30, and then you decide, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go back and change mine. That's where you're going to make your mistake. Because now you're going to miss something, because you have the issue of now trying to go change something, so you need to change it right at the beginning when you're doing it. Now, we do have a change, and we're doing that on purpose because we want to make sure that you understand one thing. He says, let the lights be in the firmament of the heavens, and divide the light from the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and for years. So what we're going to do right here, we're going to leave this blank. The reason why we're going to leave this blank, because we're going to explain some other verses, and we're going to go about 2 or 3 verses down, and then we got to come back to this. The reason why, we want to make sure that you understand what's going to happen in this verse. We got to make sure you're going to understand what's going to happen in this verse. And the same thing, you might see words that might have these here where you need to change them. Do not change anything in here. Don't change the way it's written, nothing. So we're going to go down, we're going to look at verse 15. And then we're going to end up coming back in a little while. So verse 15, it says, for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. So also where he spoke here, he continued speaking here. So we need to sit here, and we need to take this right here, and we need to turn that also blue. Are you, everybody make sure you do that. So now you want to check and make sure, say, well, I want to get the other ones changed. Let's go up real quick, and you look. That's what you do. And we know right here, we know he spoke right here. So it says, let the firmament be in the midst of the waters, and divide it from the waters. Then you look up here, and you see, and God made. So we know that's good. He didn't say anything else there. We know it just happened. Now we're going to go down again. We're going to look, and he said, God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered, and it was so. So we know, period. We know full stop. It stopped. There's nothing else said there. And guess what? And God called the dry land. So now we know everything. He just doing things. But then we know right here, and God said, let the earth bring forth grass. And guess what? And the earth brought forth grass. So it don't say, God said, let the earth bring forth grass, and so he's not saying that. It's saying right there, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass. So we know we're good. So we know now we done double checked. We're fine. We just can move forward. And we know right here, he said, and it be for days and years. This is why the colon there, not because he's going to clarify what he's saying. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, and to give light upon the earth. So we know he continually talked, because he was going to give clarification to the heaven and the earth what was going to happen. And it was so. So we need to use some precepts to understand what was going on. So for the first one we're going to use 28. We're going to go to verse 11. 28 and verse 11. 28 and verse 11. And it's the same in Genesis, but we're going to tell you what, let's make sure we get this right. We don't want that to mess up, because sometimes I will do mine that way, but since it's in the same chapter, in the same book, but we're going to do Genesis 28 and 11. So if somebody else is reading it, at least they will know. At least they will know. So 28 and 11, we need to see what that says. We need to see what it says to make sure it's right. And it says, and light was upon a certain place. The light was upon the firmament of the heavens. That's where it was. It was on the firmament of the heavens. So with that, we know what was going on. So it says, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set, and he took of the stone in place, and put them on his pillow, and laid down in the place to sleep. So we know it said, let them be for light upon the firmament of heaven, to give light upon the earth. We know that also has a spiritual side, but for the foundational, This actually is explaining what we're trying to find out. But still, for some people, this one verse is not going to give you the understanding. So we also using another verse. This is the key to foundational precepts. Foundational precepts. You will not see this in the Bible, but it's a foundation for precept must be upon precept. Why? To get understanding. Why? Therefore, I hate every false way. The foundation. That's why I'm saying in that fashion. Foundational precepts. So we're going to look at Job 36 and verse 30. 36 and verse 30. It says, behold, he spreadeth his light upon it. Wow. Let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. He spreadeth his light upon and covered the bottom of the sea. So he did something there, giving more information that's needed. Now we're going to look at another one, which actually we can move this and we're going to put a comma there because we're going to use another part from Job. We're going to use 38 and 24. 38 and 24. Actually, I'm going to be using another one right there. So I'm going to use another comma there. So 38 and 24. It says, by the way is the light parted, which scattered and cast in east winds upon the earth. So we know he's really talking hardcore spiritual, but since we're not looking at the spiritual side, we're trying to understand what he is saying. We understand what he's saying literally in the carnal state. We're understanding what he's saying right here in the carnal state. We are understanding when he's talking about the light, he's talking about light upon the earth. Light upon the earth to give understanding. But watch here. Watch what he's going to do here. We're going to look at another one, 39 and 19. 39 and 19. You get more understanding. It says, hast thou given thy horse strength? Hast thou clothed his neck with thunder? What is that saying? What is that saying? This has a lot to do with the verse. But what we have to do is remember is what the horse mean and what thunder mean. So we have to keep this there because this later is going to help you out extremely a lot because for the spiritual side. This is why I wanted it to have to be there because even though this is going to explain the spiritual, we need it there to where it'll help you later to where we won't have to go back and put that there because it's going to explain a lot of stuff for you. So this is why I actually put it there. I didn't want to put it there to confuse you, but we put it there because then later you say, well, I'll tell you what, I need to go back and put this there and you won't have to. That's why we did that. Baruch 3 and 20. We need to understand what Baruch 3 and 20 says to move forward. And it says, young men have seen light and dwelt upon the earth, but the way of knowledge have they not known. So it's telling you that light dwelt upon the earth, but the way of knowledge they have not known. So it's showing you the separation. It's showing you the separation. He's lighting upon the earth, so he's talking about knowledge, but most of us have not known it. We have another one. We have a Habakkuk, which we're going to use, and it's 2:14. We have to go there, and we're going to read that. Habakkuk 2:14, we're going to read it. In Habakkuk 2:14, it says, for the earth shall be filled with knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the water covered the earth. So we know light covers everything. Light covers everything. It fills everything. It fills every nooks and crannies as you see light comes out. Lights outshine darkness. It's telling you what's going on. We're going to use one here. We're going to use 2 Corinthians because 2 Corinthians actually gives some clarification. 4 and 6. 4 and 6. 2 Corinthians 4 and 6. And it says, for Yahweh, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, has shined in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge. You see that key, the knowledge. Light is knowledge. So we know that's what's been pumping the entire time. Of the glory of Yahweh in the face of Yahweh Shai the Messiah. So you make sure you note that. That's why we have to put that there, to where it can give you that information. To have that information on that one right there alone, to where we can go through it. So we know we got to go down, and now we're going to finish right there, because that gives you the foundational precepts of what you need to understand on this alone. So now we're going to move down to verse 16. We still haven't forgotten about 14, but we're going to move down to verse 16. And now we're going to move there and see what happened. We're going to see what happened. Okay, it says, and Yahweh made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. He made the stars also. What is he saying? What is he saying? We need the foundational precepts to understand what is he saying. First one we're going to understand here. We're going to put in Isaiah 45 and 7. Isaiah 45 and 7. We have to read that and see what that says. It says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. You see the clearness, and it says, and God made two great lights. The greater light ruled the day, the lesser light ruled the night. Lesser light also means no knowledge is there. Bunch of confusion. It's none there. It's a bunch of confusion. Let you know it's nothing there. When it's dark, you can't see anything. So if you can't see anything, it's confusion. Next time, go in a dark room, or you go in a cave and you have no light. The reason you have no light and you can't even see where you're going, that's the picture he's trying to project to you. You can't see, you try to feel your way around because you can't see anything. So you try to feel your way around things because there's no light there. Light outshines darkness. Then you have knowledge, because once you can see where you're going. But some of us see and don't really see because we still walk blind. That's what he's trying to project to you. So we also have another verse there to help move that one forward. We're going to use Sirach. As I said, we use Apocrypha quite a bit. Sirach, and that's 39 and 25. 39 and 25. We need to see what that verse says. And it says, for the good are good things created from the beginning. Two great lights. One light to rule the day, lesser light to rule the night. For the good are good things created from the beginning. So evil things for the sinners. I'm talking about that's blunt as day. Blunt as day. The foundational precept will understand this. This also gives you a light, just like a hint light of spiritual. A hint light of spiritual. That's right there. Just like somebody, just give me a little bit of salt, just a hint of it right there. But we have another verse here. We got to go to 40 and verse 10. 40 and verse 10. What do that 40 and verse 10 says? We need to find out what that 40 and verse 10 says. It says, these things are created for the wicked. What? The night. And for their sakes came the flood. This telling you a whole lot of other information which will run you all over the place. But just always remember that verse. created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood. Came the flood. It tells you a lot, but we getting the foundation of precepts, and that's why I say it's really important to where we have to push through, because it makes you want to go investigate some other things. But we have to stay focused and just push through what we're doing. This is why I say a lot of stuff gonna get really good, but we have to stay focused. Idris 2:14. Idris 2:14. And we need to see what Idris 2:14 is saying. And it says, take heaven and earth to witness. For I have broken the evil in pieces and created the good. For I live, saith Yahweh. So we know he lived, so he created the good. So the two great lights he made, the greater light, he created for the good. He's explaining himself all the time. He's explaining himself all the time. And that's, I'm talking about, and normally that's what we was planning on doing, is to run through 3 or 4 verses, foundational precepts, just for people to understand. But the reason why I chose not to, I said I'm going to put as many foundational precepts need to be there to make sure, I want to make sure the reader understand the exact verse. So we're going to move down. We're going to verse 17. I apologize. Verse 17, it says, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven and gave light upon the earth. And he set them up in the firmament and set them in the earth. We need to understand what that verse is saying. So we have first one is Isaiah 9 and 8. Isaiah 9 and 8. And we need to understand what that's saying. Isaiah 9 and 8. It says, Yahweh sent word unto Jacob, and it had lighted upon him. This is clear as day, because it's saying, and Yahweh set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and have lighted upon Israel. I don't know what to say. If you don't understand that font, but that's okay, because we have other ones we're going to use, but I'm talking about it's clear as day. But we're going to go to another one. We're going to go to Sirach again. We're going to go to 26 and 17. These foundational precepts would have happened where you can go to this verse, and what this comes of this. You can go to this verse and actually teach someone this verse, and all you'll be using is the foundational precepts, and literally might speak to them maybe 15, 20 minutes, giving them a teaching on the verse alone, and you didn't have to write down not one piece of a note. You'll give them the understanding of that verse. Beautiful thing about precepts. We're going to look at Sirach 26 and verse 17. It says, as the clear light is upon the holy candlestick. You see how clear he's getting even clearer? So the candlestick is saying what? It's actually spiritual, but it's talking about people. As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, so is the beauty of the face in ripe age. This is clear as day. That's the beautiful part. I'm telling you, precepts is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing to know them, and for him to give us the wisdom and the understanding to go through these, to give this understanding. To give this understanding. We're going to look at Job. We're going to look at 36 and verse 30. We're going to look at 36 and verse 30. We're going to get something there. And it says, behold, he spreadeth his light upon it and covereth the bottom of the sea. Now we know we just used this verse. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you look at this verse right here, you'll see it right up here. The same verse. Sometimes the same verse will give clarification. But we need those there for the foundational precept. It has to be there for the foundational precept. We have another one that's here we're going to look at. We're going to look at Genesis. We're going to 28, and we're going to look at verse 11. 28 and verse 11. We need to look at this. 28 and verse 11. It says, and he lighted upon the certain place. See, but when you look at the King James Bible, we have to remember where you see it's italicized. That word is not actually there. That word was added for clarification. The word was added for clarification. So it's not what you actually see. So the writers that King James had commissioned to do the translations, they did these things for clarification because they was translating from Hebrew and Aramaic and Greek into English, and this is what they was doing. And then even a little bit more clarification, you have other books like the Tinsdale and all these other books where people say these books were written before. But if you look at the English was very broken and written. King James did the foundation, and they literally standardized the English language on how it was going to be written. That's why you see these other books, the Bishop's book, you see all these other books that is out there, and you see them, and you go look at the English of it and how it's written, you see the English is really bad. I'm talking about by the spelling of the words. It's really bad. Why? Because English at that time did not have a foundational spelling. Who did that? Who straightened it out? King James. They did the foundational to where that they did that standard. So for many of you guys might don't know, this is also where you had a Webster Dictionary and the Oxford Dictionary came from the King James Bible. Those two dictionaries came from the King James Bible. He is the one that standardized the English language far as the spelling of words. Many people will try to tell you all kind of other things. What I always try to show people, you stated what the truth is. Why? If you ever notice what I do and what I teach, I never have to take you outside the Bible. Everything we can find, we can derive right out the Bible. They will take you to other places and try to tell you this means this based on what somebody else is telling you. Based on what some other writer have said. We're not doing that. We're going to get all our understandings directly out of the book. Doing it that way, this helps you to understand just the book. How you going to know a real $100 bill from a fake $100 bill? You don't go study the fake $100 bill. All you have to do is study the real $100 bill. You can care less how many fake $100 bills they make. You study the real one, and I guarantee you, if you study it and study just a real $100 bill all the time, anytime you run into a fake $100 bill, you will know it. That same concept, it comes from the Bible. Seek ye out of the one book. So, again, Genesis 28, verse 11. What do it say? And he lighted upon a place, is actually what it says. But certain, not trying to give you another thought pattern, because they had to carefully think what word to even put there to where it won't interpret it to you. That's why I just put a place, a certain place. And tarried there all night because the sun was set, and he took of the stone in the place and put it for his pillow, which we see a couple of words that was put there, which I'm going to address them, and laid down in that place to sleep. So what did it actually say there? It says, and he took of the stone of place. See, because Hebrew language was really broken. And even right now, the structure of the language, when they write out, you will not see those words at all, even today. However, these words is placed there for your clarification. Because we, English language, have to put in many other words to where we can understand things. So we know it says stones of place, and it says input for his, and for even them for his is not even there. It says input his pillow. That's what it actually says. And put his pillows and laid down at that place to sleep. That's what the Bible actually says. That's what it actually says. So, and we had a foundation of precepts to get that understanding there. We had a foundation of precepts to get that understanding there. We're going to jump down to verse 18, and we have to do some explaining there because there's a lot of stuff here that we need to explain. So we're going to go here and we're going to crank this in there and move that down. In the first one, we need to explain something. This is why I say we still have to come back to 14. We have to come back to 14. But watch what's that. Well, watch. But let's see what happened. Verse 18. And first thing we got to do is what? Light. We have to explain that. We have to explain what light means. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna highlight this. Some people might not want to, because you might don't want that in your part, but well, we're gonna put this there for mine, because I want to know what this light is, and then you're gonna see why I left that blank. But what's going to go on here is we're going to put in Leviticus. And we're going to go to 25 in verse 43. 25 in verse 43. We have to read and see what this says. We have to read and see what this says. And it says, thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but thou shalt fear Yahweh. What is that saying? So you should not rule over him with rigor. With rigor, meaning what? You having no knowledge up in your head. Being like a person of the night. But should have fear of Yahweh. Should have the fear and have the knowledge of the light. He's showing you all what it is. But you know we're doing foundational, so guess what? We got to clarify more on what he's saying. So we're going to use Sirach. Sirach 28, verse 22. We're going to clarify more to get the understanding. We're going to clarify more to get the understanding. So it says, it shall not have rule over them that fear Yahweh. Really? It shall not have rule over them that fear Yahweh. Darkness will not have rule over you that have light. You see that? And to rule over the day and over the night. One is going to rule over you. Either the night is going to rule over you or the day is going to rule over you. Which one is it going to be? This is what this is saying. This is what this is talking about. One or the other is going to rule. And it says, neither shall they be burnt with the flames thereof. This is, I'm telling you, it's clear as day. It gives you the understandings that you need to push for and go through the verse to understand what's happening. We're going to use Judges. We're going to use Judges 28, 22 and 23 to get clarification. Judges 8, 22 and 23 to get clarification. It says, Then the men of Israel said unto Gideon, Rule over us, both thou and thy sons and thy son's son also, for they have delivered us from the hand of Midian. Why? Because the light outshine the night. And they was grateful of that, because that's what Gideon did. And let's see what happened. And Gideon said unto them, watch this real closely. I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. Why? Yahweh shall rule over you. His knowledge is light is going to rule. I'm going to speak of him, but I'm going to speak his rules and speak his commandments, but he is the main one. I'm just an example. That's all he's saying. This is all he's saying. So we need some more information here. So we know what light is. What is night? What is night? What is night? So we have the example of this, and I want to untalicize that. So I want to know, we got what light is pretty much. So what is night? What is night? We're going to look at Psalms, and we're going to go to 106, verse 41. 106, verse 41. We got to look at it. We got to read it. Make sure it is what it says it is. And it says, and he gave them unto the hand of the heathen. What do heathens have? Heathens do not. He said, only you have I known out of all the families of the earth. He says even in Psalms 147, I gave my laws and my statutes to Jacob, and his laws and everything to Israel. And he gave them over to the heathen. And they that hated them ruled over them. They have no light whatsoever. Who? Heathens. Heathens have no knowledge. That's night. This is what you have to understand here. We're going to look at another one here. Another one. We're going to go to Proverbs. Proverbs 25, verse 28. 25, verse 28. What do this say? 25, verse 28. He that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down without walls and without walls. He's telling you exactly, he that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken. And seeing all that is and that is not there. It says he that no rule over his own spirit, a city broken down without walls. That's what that actually says. Well, it actually makes it clear to me, but I'm fine either way. What we want to make sure is that we understand this verse. So we got to have the foundational precepts to understand what this is saying. Let's look at another one. Isaiah. Isaiah. We're going to go to 52. And we're going to look at 52 in verse 5. 52 in verse 5. What do that say? It says, now therefore, what have I here, saith Yahweh, that my people is taken away for naught. They that rule over them make them howl, saith Yahweh, and my name continually every day is blasphemed. When do you howl? So you understand where he's coming from. When do people howl? When do your wolves howl? At night. At night. You understand this is how the Most High speaks, because we should already know some of this, what he's talking about. So we got to put another word here. We're going to put comparison. So we want to do it that way. I need to highlight that. 1 second. I'm going to move that. Oh, dang it. I'm going to tell you what. I might have to do this again. And I hate doing that. Take that off. And now put it back. Yeah. I hate doing it, but that's okay. So we're going to do a comparison. Genesis. Actually, I still got to do it. Genesis. And we're going to do Genesis 10 and 32. Genesis 10 and 32. We have to read it, see what it says. Genesis 10:32. It says, these are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations in their nations. In their nations. In their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. We just found out some other information that we had up on the top. After the flood. Some had knowledge, some had no knowledge. We just precepted that earlier. Some had knowledge, some had no knowledge. So he divided them. According to what? According to the knowledge of God. But it gets even better. We have another verse, and this is why he did this. This is the comparison. We're going to go back to another verse we just had in there. 45 and verse 7. 45 and verse 7. We have to look at it, see what it says. And he says, I formed the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. So what he does. Some people are going to choose one side and some are going to choose the other side. Some is going to make their choice and going to go over to darkness. Because that's what they're going to choose. That's where they choose to be. This is where they choose to be. So we're going to understand a lot of this that's going on, that we really need to get the understanding on what is happening and understand all the time that this stuff here, it's not playing around with us. It's not playing, but as we do these foundational precepts, we have to understand that what we do is they're serious. And we want to make sure with these foundational precepts that we continually move through and push what we need to know all the time. And that's what we need to make sure we're doing. So what we're going to do, we're going to stop there, then we're going to pick up from there tomorrow, and then we're going to continually move forward. So again, many of you guys who wanted to, you guys want to go through here, you can also go right there to the MOAD, mow-ed.com. Go there, get low. I come in the volume of the book with Elder Johnson. You can get that the Genesis file to where you can start going through the Bible right along with us. And you can precept your own Bible to where you can convert it later into an EPUB or to an e-reader, and you have it on your own tablet, but you will have an exact Bible, and it's unique of anybody, because precept Bibles is nowhere to be found. Nowhere. If anybody would have one, I guarantee you they are lying to you, because it's a relational Bible, because it'll run you to a certain thought pattern. Precepts don't run you to a certain thought. Precepts give you the clarification of a verse. That's it. It don't sit there and you read and say, what is this saying to me? you don't sit there, what is it saying to you? You look at a verse and you get clarification of that verse. That's what Precepts does. So if you guys enjoy it, make sure you go over there and you get with it. However, many of you guys want to do this stuff. I guarantee you will enjoy it and you will continue. So with that, we're going to take this off and we're going to let everybody else go.